emotional regulation problems with your clients and how cognitive training maybe helps with that, and what you see as a result of providing that kind of therapy for your clients in terms of helping them being able to better regulate and control their emotional response to trauma.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is kind of recognizing these triggers and early identifying factors that kind of are the preamble before our behaviors occur, and that's where the cognition really plays a big part in us being able to understand these bodily sensations or these feelings that we have within our body and be able to break that down. So when we look at emotional regulation, we're looking at our coping mechanisms to handle these different scenarios or situations that life throws our way, and that's something that's out of our control, is what kind of these situations that we find ourselves in. But what is in our control is what we do in order to cope with these. So there's the positive and negative coping strategies that we are going over and we kind of review. And individuals who are tending to use these negative coping strategies, this has become a habit for them. And that's where it's important for us to really tap into this cognitive component and really, when we're in that good frame of mind or in that healthy state of mind, in our window of tolerance per se, that's when we are able to use our thinking brain to really practice these positive coping strategies and make them become part of our memory and become really part of our thinking brain. So when we do experience these situations in the future, we're able to tap into those positive coping strategies rather than resort back to our habitual negative coping strategies that we used in the past. So it's kind of, that's where the change I see as emotional regulation is being able to work with people when they're in a really good state and practicing these strategies and making them become positive, making their habits become more positive coping strategies and introducing these strategies rather than to resort back to our old ones. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, just like anything with cognitively, it takes a lot of repetitiveness and practice, and working on it in the right environments, right? So that's what it's all about there. And that's with emotional regulation, I feel that it's something that I've learned a lot from the people that I've worked with. And I've been able to be like, yeah, we really do need to practice this. We can't just take it for granted that we make these decisions. And because we're in those elevated or decreased states of mind, we're not really using the full capacity of our brain.
It sounds like I'm wondering what kind of work you do with your clients on emotion recognition. I know it's a little bit harder because you're virtual, but people, still can make expressions over, a video camera. Um, how do you work on maybe recognizing when, helping your clients recognize when someone is, upset, if they're happy, if they're angry? Do you do any work with them on tone of voice and detecting emotion that way?
Big time. Awareness is something that we're always focusing on, and having that awareness of all our senses, but at the same time, awareness is of our emotions, and those kind of go hand in hand with each other. And it's really important for us to understand it may not even be a face. It could just be a feeling and where we're feeling it in our body. So some people may feel it in their chest, or some people may feel a burning sensation in their arms or tingling sensation in their legs or whatever it may be. And that may be associated with a different emotion. As well, it's really important for us to understand that different settings may cause us to feel something as well due to traumatic experience that we've had or a good experience that we've had. And that's something I really wanted to focus on too, is understanding what good feels like for us and what not so good feels like for us, and being able to understand both sides of those spectrums. Because if we're only focusing on the bad, we don't really know what the good feels like. So I really want to focus on both sides of that and being able to remember those feelings. And journaling, it actually has been a very important thing for us to understand that. So like a self-care check-in where we do like a journal entry on what we're feeling. And that's how I structure it. It's like what we're feeling, what occurred, what was the setting we're in, and explain like on a thermometer where we're at in terms of our energy and our emotions. So that's something that's been really important, and being able to reflect back on that. Because a lot of times when we do this, we're in that elevated state of mind where our mind's just spinning, right? And to go back and reflect on that when we're in a better state of mind is where we're able to make the true gains and therapeutic benefits.
Like you also kind of provide some psychotherapy as well for the client in terms of addressing their emotional concerns. And I know a big part of cognitive training process is the bridging component. So I wonder if you can share maybe some of the strategies that you use, maybe some bridging activities that maybe you tried with your clients to help them translate their cognitive training to actual emotional regulation in different situations in their life that they would encounter.
Yeah, and that's where interoception activities have been very helpful. So these are just kind of getting us to really feel like rubbing our hands together to feel the heat in our hands and understanding that, and understanding when we have friction that heat comes, or when we tense a muscle and relax a muscle. Those are really important activities for us to really just be aware of our body, and connecting the mind to the body. And I think that's where um, the gap is when we're in these states of mind where we have these behaviors, and when we're able to identify these triggers earlier, we're able to really understand, yeah, this is what my body's telling me. I don't, like, if we can say something's going on, I don't feel well, I don't know why. We may not know the origin or the reason why we're feeling that way, but to understand that we're feeling uncomfortable or not our typical selves, that's when it's important for us to really use these activities, such as like progressive muscular relaxation or these interoception activities, to really build that I guess connection between our mind and our body.
Yeah, and with people that have different disabilities, there's different triggers that someone might be responsive to one, stimulus or stressor. Another person might be more affected by it than another person. With the clients that you work with, do you do any pre-intake work about identifying what triggers they have, what ways that maybe they can address them, or how, in therapy you're going to tackle, their response to their stressors that really bother them?
Yeah, so right now intake's kind of been at a standstill. We have a new employment stream that we're rolling out, and that's kind of going to be more, I guess, employment focused. But for individuals, yes, we definitely do understand. We do a pretty comprehensive history and functional assessment to see what these triggers are and to identify that, and kind of what's been being used at home, what's been successful in the past, what hasn't been successful, and kind of trying to piece that whole story together. I think it's really important to get that holistic view of a person. At Chrysalis, we are very holistic and person-centered. We want to make sure that we're putting people in a position to be successful. And I think that's what is really, really cool about Chrysalis, is that we really want to focus on what the people want to do, whether that is having that leisure or having those programs, accessing an art program, cooking program, music program, or if they want to really focus on employment, and get a job and be a part of the community and have that sense of productivity, or if it's schooling or volunteering. But really, we really want to support individuals with whatever their goals may be. And that's right at the beginning. We have an HCD, like human-centered design, intake process where they really get to know people of the family, really kind of get a full picture of the person. And that's what's really allowed us to be successful, I feel, is we're very innovative in the sense of we really want to help the person. And that's what me coming here and being a part of this team already, it's just been such a pleasure of mine and such a great start to my career, is being here, is just how invested that Chrysalis is in making people as happy as possible, and seeing the potential in everyone. That's what's really been fascinating.
Yeah, it's a very rewarding career path. And